Hey, what's up you guys? So I'm coming to you with another video. It's another week. One Down has dropped another video, so we'll just get into it. But first, of course, if you're new to my channel, what is up? My name is Mitch, Maverick Mitch. Hey Mitch. All the Mitches, and pretty much I like talking about what I talk about. So current events, reviews, and pop culture within the scope of entertainment, culture, and purpose. So TV movie reviews, social political commentary. So be sure to check out all those videos as you're finishing this video. So for my new subscribers, I do a video on One Down. One Down is pretty much kind of like the Filipino BuzzFeed, right? And so they've been doing a video each week for the month of October for Filipino American History Month, hence my lei here, Filipino colors. And so some of their topics has ranged from something really simple as Filipino history to something a little bit more controversial, which is like Filipino versus Filipinx. If you heard of Latinx, well, it has the same thing with Filipinx, and I have talked about that. So if you're one of my new subscribers, you probably want to check out that video. But for this video, they are talking about Filipino food, if it's unhealthy, if it's healthy and everything, so we'll go into it. But first, I do think they should have went a different route. It is the last episode, I would imagine, in this One Down for October Filipino American History Month, and I wish they went a different route. Maybe Filipino folklore, because Halloween is around the corner, or Filipino writing, or our language, how it has mix of other people's language, and so they could have went through a whole different series, but I guess we're talking about food. So, okay. And also, just another disclaimer, if you see my videos for One Down, I do want to disclaim that this isn't anything to put them down. The host of their show is Sapphire Sandalo, one of my friends. So again, this is Filipino American History Month. This is about uplifting, totally get that. But I do have my views on certain topics, especially when it comes to Filipinx. But for this video, I don't expect it to be anything bad because we're just talking about food. So yeah. So again, we're gonna go into the One Down video about talking about Filipino food. So let's roll it.
A classic Filipino plate looks like adobo, rice, and high cholesterol. Diabetes and high blood pressure are some of Filipinos' leading health issues, and a lot of these are tied to eating habits. Filipino food is often characterized for its fried dishes, fatty sauces, and innovative use of every part of the animal. But what makes Filipino food Filipino? And is it actually unhealthy? I'm Sapphire Sandalo, and
what up, Sapphire? But it's actually interesting. I did a video with my friend Jen on my other channel, It's Mandatory Fun, where we did like Sweet Earth came out with a vegan adobo. So you should check out that video. And we talked about what she mentioned. What does kind of like Filipino flavors talk about? What constitutes as Filipino food? And in that video, you can look it up. I mean, we talked about how patis, fish sauce is in a lot of Filipino cooking. So it's like a Filipino flavor. We also talk about calamansi being like a Filipino flavor too. At least something that reminds us of Filipino flavor. So yeah, that's cool. Like so far so good. Again, we're just gonna talk about food. So yeah.
This is Breaking the Tabo, where we digest real After years of schoolmates shaming me for my baon, they've gone from, oh, what is that smell? To, what is that smell? Which is a simple way of saying that Filipino food has finally entered foodie culture. But some of our most classic Filipino dishes didn't even originate in the Philippines. Which probably explains why Latinos want to fight me every time I say leche flan is a Filipino dessert, or that we eat champorado, not drink it. While fusion foods today are seen as trendy, like Korean corn dogs or adobo tacos, the Philippines have been doing it for years, with each dish representing different influences from trading routes, colonization, and imperialism. Everyone loves lumpia, including Karen. But did you know lumpia originated from Chinese settlers in the 17th century? Not only that, but also caldereta was brought in during Spanish colonization. And Spam was popularized during the Second World War to feed American soldiers stationed in the Philippines before it became an iconic breakfast for Filipinos. Prior to modern American imperialism, Filipino food was locally sourced and truly organic, meaning their food tended to be more fresh and natural. Yeah, before Whole Foods was
sorry, just real quick, they said like, if this goes woke, because they're talking about like American imperialism, I get that, whatever, but because we took part of that, but I don't know. I take issue because imperial means you're emperor, but whatever. But yeah, colloquially, I understand what they're talking about.
Changed when Spain gave up their power over the Philippines to the land of the free and home of the fried food. Years of exploitation by countries trying to save us have resulted in cultural habit shifts.
Okay, we are going to work on
short-term
this.
solutions, but long-term problems. From 1898 to 1946, America introduced fast and fried foods to us, solving the problem of many Filipinos who needed cheap and convenient sustenance for their families. Along with military bases, America also brought the Philippines canned food, soft drinks, and processed meat, which all became staples in our classic Filipino diet. Let's talk to Amanda Sevilla, a clinical and plant-based dietitian.
So they brought over McDonald's, they brought over the more industrialized concept of fried chicken and kind of normalized eating meat as the staple of the meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
We can't forget that what we eat.
Okay, so I mean, okay, so we're going woke on this just because we're gonna say like, okay, so U.S. Americanization has been a negative and all this stuff. Okay, whatever. I get that. But, I mean, there's other things, like, you could talk about, like, Filipino, like, a breakfast. So, when I went to the Philippines back in 2006, I was visiting my dad's side of the family in Cebu, right? And so, for breakfast, what we had was jackfruit, rice, and sakwate, so hot chocolate, right? And so it was just a simple breakfast that like was super dope and that was super memorable, right? And so yeah, so it doesn't always have to be so a heavy meal, but like tapsulog, right? And so yeah,
comes down to what we can afford. Some families are able to buy heaps of vegetables, while others make do with a can of corned beef. So you eat what you have access to. To be able to call a type of food unhealthy can be a privilege stemmed from having access to other alternatives. Regardless of the choices you make, this is not about shaming, especially when that's
sorry, I like because I critique them, I took that as like, oh, they're calling like Edna. But of course, I mean, there's not always I'm always not always like shaming them per se, but they do go woke on a lot of their things. But like, yeah, so obviously that's not an attack towards me, but I read that as a general like me thinking of that. So yeah.
so present in our community, and we can save that conversation for a later time. So who's to say vegan Filipino food can't do the same? And if you need advice on how to approach your family members, here's what Amanda has to say about our cultural values and how we can best inform ourselves and our relatives.
Food is a very personal thing. It's very heavily laden with emotions and just personal identities, especially for older Filipinos. I can understand why it would be hard to decrease the intake of meat or even just switch it out completely, because a lot of them kind of identify with that because that's their culture, that's their mom's cooking, that's them growing up. It's not just about the food, it's like the memories that surround it. The biggest thing in Filipino culture that I would say is the most detrimental to health is just the amount of cholesterol and saturated fat in conjunction with sodium that also increases blood pressure. I'm a proponent of more. So instead of taking things out, I encourage people to add more vegetables, add more fresh fruits. Fun fact, the number one risk factor of chronic disease in the United States is an inadequate intake of fruit.
Okay, I guess maybe this is my family, this is just my mom and dad, but I would imagine it follows other people. But like my mom and dad like eats like fruits at the end of every meal. Like they eat bananas or whatever, they eat like fruits. So I don't know. I guess that's not the case for everyone else, whatever. But like my parents do it as it like it's the dessert. Instead of like having like chocolate or whatever, they just have fruits. And so like watermelon or cantaloupe or something. So yeah, I don't know. And then I guess they're going to talk about like more vegetables, and my mom already does that.
Like a little extra, or add some more spinach to your sinigang. And then the next thing would be to decrease animal product consumption. Even decreasing your consumption by like 15 to 20% has been shown to improve the risk of getting chronic diseases and cancer.
But no one eats Filipino food to be healthy. It's good for the soul, not for the heart. But maybe there's other ways to have healthier alternatives. For example, did you know these Filipino foods were vegan?
Turon is usually vegan. Puto, suman, Filipino food is really, really easy to veganize. Say for adobo, for example, you can take out the meat and use tofu. Like if it's pressed, it soaks up the flavors really well. You can also just
I'm not like I don't know about y'all, but I'm not gonna have like tofu adobo, okay?
use if it's available to you, any meat alternatives, and then you can also just use straight up mushrooms or just put like potatoes in there. The flavor.
Well, other
Filipino food
people do put
just, like,
potatoes in
soy
adobo,
sauce and
I guess.
vinegar and a little bit of sugar in just different ratios. And it's mostly like meat is there to add like that fatty coating on the tongue and also a little bit of chewiness. So if you can find a type of
I mean,
food
we
that
eat adobo with
fits that,
chicken.
where it's like,
Sorry, we eat adobo with chicken because we need a protein, but okay, whatever.
it has a nice chew to it and will soak up flavor, then it's already easy to make.
Although the label Filipino food tends to include mostly Tagalog food, regional cuisine gives us a different look into other eating habits within the Philippines that are both healthy and full of veggies. Muslim communities in the South tend to avoid pork and eat chicken and tuna instead. Ilocanos tend to eat way more vegetables than Tagalogs and therefore have longer lifespans. And Bicolanos, where I'm from, have staple veggie dishes like laing.
There's no restrictions to Filipino food. So whether you're going out for a kamayan or cooking your Lola's recipes at home, just enjoy it. Our food is always changing. So I wonder what it'll look like in the next 100 years.
Space food. Okay, so overall that was cool, but I'm just digesting that. Okay, so breaking down the Tabo and all that stuff. This wasn't a bad episode. So they did go a little bit woke. Talk about colonialization, imperialization, whatever. But overall, I get it. We want to be healthy, right? We want to talk to our friends and family, and especially our parents, are older, like as they are getting in the older range, right? We want to make them healthier so that they have a longer life, and so we can spend more time together, right? So obviously all of those are like great points, right? Already I see my mom, my parents, and other people's parents. They had to worry about things like gout or high blood pressure and all things like that, right? So I get it. Like, let's be healthy, right? And so totally on point there. Again, being that this is the last episode, presumably for October, for Filipino American History Month, like I said in the beginning, I would have liked to see a different episode talking about Filipino folklore, especially with Halloween on the side. Sapphire does another on her own, like, actual, like, YouTube and series and everything. She actually talks about, like, ghost stories. So that could have been a great episode to do, in which you're talking about Filipino folklore and Halloween around the corner, and obviously you're educating about, you know, Filipino ghost stories, right? And so that should have been the last episode, but we went with food, whatever. And last final thoughts, I guess, if anything, I kind of wish they went a little bit more of what other Filipino cuisines are there, right? And so we should have talked about like which foods came from China, which foods came from Spanish or influence and stuff like that. So I kind of wanted to see there, but again, they wanted to limit this to like being healthy, right? So yeah. Again, this was a pretty decent episode. What do you guys think? What is your favorite Filipino food? Continue the conversation below. And again, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. And then again, you check out that video I did with my friend Jen on It's Mandatory Fun. We talked about vegan adobo, which was alright, I guess. And yeah, so thank you for watching. You can follow me on my Instagram at Hey Mitch. You can follow me on my joint Instagram at It's Mandatory Fun, where, like I said, where I do other videos with my friend Jen. I'm also on Parler, Mitch, and see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Peace, peace, peace. Be with you.